Hi HLOKC members, I'm Tenessa Pinkerton, nurse practitioner with SSM Health, and one of the things that I do here at the center, besides the clinic that I run here and providing those healthcare services for you all, is to do health talks twice a month. I am going to continue to do those health talks here in the center, but additionally I plan on recording each of those health talks as well for those of us who either can't join us or maybe not quite as comfortable to do so yet. Also, we'll have some limited seating for those talks, so the amount of people that I can kind of reach and actually give this talk to is going to be a little bit limited for a while until we start to get back to full normal. So with that, today's topic is going to actually be a two-part series. So we'll do part 1 today, and then we'll do part 2 at the later talk. I think it's June 18th is the later talk. But we'll go ahead and do part 1 today. And we're going to be going over skin health and awareness for summer and beyond. So again, this is part 1, and today we're going to really kind of focus more on sun protection for your skin. We'll go over some basic skin cancer statistics and facts, and then some basic prevention overview. We'll go over the sunscreen, the 5 W's and H of sunscreen need to knows, and we'll go over the 2 different types of ingredients or ingredient type sunscreens. There is physical and there is chemical. One may or may not be better for you. We'll kind of go over that. And then actually, what does SPF mean? We'll go over the definition, what to look for, what number is actually the best for you as well. And sun protective clothing. Definitely, how it works, what types actually work, and maybe what you already are doing, what you already know, and how effective clothing actually really is when it comes to protecting our skin from the sun. And we won't forget eye protection. We're going to go over eye protection from the sun and some of the effects of the sun on the eyes and the different types of things that we definitely want to take the steps to protect ourselves. And then throughout it as well, I'll kind of explain how I can help in certain areas and what I can do for you as a nurse practitioner. And then finally, again, come back for part 2 when we talk about more in-depth on skin cancers and screenings. So basic overview of the skin. The skin is an absolutely wonderful organ. It's the largest organ in our body. It has multiple functions, including protection, temperature regulation, and I also kind of, in a psychological sense, see it as almost an extension of our personalities. Some are really comfortable with expressing their personalities via tattoos, which I've seen some really awesome ones. And then others really take, wonderful care of their skin, and sometimes you can even tell, or I can even tell, a person's health status from their skin, just an outward appearance. So in specific on skin cancer statistics and facts, skin cancer is the most common cancer in both the US as well as worldwide. So it's absolutely the most common type of cancer. 1 in 5 Americans will develop some type of skin cancer by age 70. That's a pretty decent amount. Having 5 or more sunburns or 1 blistering sunburn in a lifetime increases, and especially in childhood, increases your risk for developing skin cancer, and specifically, I think it is, specifically melanoma skin cancer by 50%. So again, 5 sunburns or 1 blistering burn. I know that I have probably definitely either exceeded the 5 sunburns. I don't think I've ever had a blistering one, but I certainly have treated people for them, have had family members and seen some pretty bad ones too. Sadly, unfortunately, skin cancer can be fatal. Right now, every hour, the lives of at least 2 individuals are claimed by skin cancer. That's why right now, I know the focus has been certainly on COVID-19, and we do want to be knowledgeable and protect ourselves from viruses and bacteria, but there's some other health upkeep, such as skin protection, that's just equally as important to keep us safe and healthy. Ultraviolet radiation is considered a human carcinogen, and that means that it is known to cause cancer. Consistent use of a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher can reduce your risks of developing squamous cell carcinoma by 40% and melanoma skin cancer by 50%. And that's just of an SPF of 15. That's pretty low grade. In fact, I think even the ones that if you want to try to tan are at least SPF 15. So wearing that consistently to protect yourself can actually decrease your risk, again, for squamous cell by 40% and for melanoma skin cancers by 50% if you use it, on a routine basis and as it's directed. Indoor tanning devices actually, emit, I believe it's 10 to 15 times the amount of the sun's rays when it's at its highest intensity. So when we talk about being in the shade or trying to stay out of the high intensity sun times, which is usually between 10 and 4, when you utilize tanning beds with those UV rays, you're actually getting 10 to 15 times that amount as you would if you were outside with no sunscreen on. I know that I certainly used tanning beds in the past. Knowing what I know now, I certainly wish I hadn't. And I definitely vocal when you ask me if it's safe to use one, I say no. Dermatologists will use some UV radiation for different disease processes, but it's not something that they do lightheartedly, and it's not something that they do massive amounts of either. So those tanning beds, unfortunately, are not safe, so we want to stay away from those for sure. Okay, and then basic prevention items. Like I said earlier, you want to seek the shade or stay in the shade, especially during the peak hours, which is between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Again, we want to avoid tanning or burning at all if possible, and certainly avoid the UV tanning beds that we just talked about. Okay, so the next thing on basic prevention knowledge is check your skin. You want to do self-skin checks every month. Head to toe, check your skin every month. You're looking for new moles, you're looking for something abnormal. We'll go into the in-depth detail about that on exactly how to check it, what you're looking for on the next talk that we do, when we get a little bit more in-depth, specifically looking for different types of skin cancers. But just for today, I want you to know and be aware that you should do monthly skin checks. I also recommend that you find a dermatologist. It's good to go ahead and establish a relationship with a dermatologist. Although your primary care, much like me, I certainly check my patient's skin when you come in for your yearly exam. I do a head to toe, I do a skin check, I ask you if you've noticed anything new. The big difference is that a dermatologist is going to be able to immediately order all of the needed and correct biopsies or tests or anything else that they may need to do for you right there in the office. Whereas I would, of course, if I found something abnormal, I'd have to refer you to a dermatologist in order to get that done. Again, I still include that as part of my exam because I just like to be really thorough, but I always tell all of my patients that in addition to me, I prefer that they do establish care with a dermatologist and go for their once a year skin exam. I know I have to set mine up for this year. I haven't done that yet. It is important they can find things early on, or we can also find things early on to help keep you safe. Sunscreen need to knows. So let's go over, earlier I talked about, we'll learn about the 5 W's and the 1 H of sunscreen need to knows. So those are who, what, when, where, how, and why. So the who is everyone. And when I say everyone under the sun, I literally mean everyone who's going to be outside and under the sun. They certainly need to wear their sunscreen. What SPF is right? Well, remember we just said that you need at least an SPF of 15 to go out and do your daily stuff, and even driving to and fro, even when you're not going to spend a lot of time out in the sun, you need at least your daily SPF of 15. Ladies, we're lucky in that aspect because most of our makeup nowadays is made with 15, 20, even 30 built into it. So yay, we're on the right road for that. And if you're going to be outdoor or for a full day or more, you definitely need SPF of 30 or more. Every single day is when. So you want to wear this again every single day. Remember we talked about apply it 30 minutes before you go outdoors and reapply it every 2 hours. That's not counting if you're swimming or if you have excessive sweating, then you're going to need to reapply it more often, especially specifically swimming. If you get in the water, once you dry off and towel off, you're going to need to reapply your sunscreen for it to last you. The only, let's see, how much, that's the H. 2 tablespoons is what we talked about. Also told you about the little shot glass. If you fill that full, it should cover most of your body. For some of us, I know it's probably me included, might need a little bit more than that. That's okay. Use whatever you need to thoroughly cover yourself, okay? And then that's for each application that you use. Also, the why, well, that's pretty basic. Definitely reduces your risk for developing skin cancers and helps stop the damage to your skin as well. I told you that we would talk about active ingredient types. There are 2 different active ingredient types of sunscreen on the market today. There are physical sunscreens and chemical ingredient sunscreens. The physical ingredient sunscreens, their job is that they block and scatter the rays before they're even allowed to penetrate your body. Those usually contain minerals, specifically titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. So those are the ones with titanium and zinc in it, more mineral based. So those are the physical type. The chemical sunscreens, how they work and function is that they actually absorb the rays before they're allowed to penetrate your skin. Those actually contain avobenzone and octisolate. Sorry, I'm not really good on pronouncing that one. But those are the more of the chemical ingredient based sunscreens. However, right now, both are safe and effective. Either one is fine, but most sunscreens out on the market actually end up combining both of these, so you get the maximum benefit of either or. One of the benefits that you might find with a mineral base in particular is that it might be a little bit less irritating for those with sensitive skins. A lot of people and companies market it as organic, and neither one of them are 100% organic. They're just two different types of base, whether it's chemical or physical. Some people consider the mineral base more of an organic type. What does SPF actually mean? It means sun protection factor. The number, in like 15 or 30 or what have you, is exactly how long it would take for the sun's UVB rays to redden your skin if you use it properly. For example, SPF of 30 means that when you use that sunscreen as directed and appropriately, it would take the sun's UVB rays to redden your skin. It would take it 30 times longer than if you didn't have it on. That's pretty impressive, you know, that the amount of it, at least even 15 or 30. So you see where it's really important to definitely utilize the sunscreen. More than sunscreen, even, that's out there, is your clothing. Not only is it stylish, it can actually be the easiest and safest form of sunscreen that we have. When you look at certain clothing right now, especially summertime, you'll notice it in lake shops and swimming boutiques, things like that. You'll notice that it'll have a little tag on it and it'll say it's rated a UPF, and that is specifically ultraviolet protection factor. So not just sun protective, but ultraviolet protection factor. The difference is that these types of clothing actually block both UVA and UVB rays. In order for it to really be effective, it has to have a UPF of 30 or greater. For the Skin Cancer Foundation, if you want their seal of approval, it needs to be a UPF of 50 or better. And just to give you kind of a little idea of what that actually means, a UPF of 50 means that 98% of the sun's rays are blocked. So you have almost perfect protection there. Clothing can be anywhere from 30 to 49 is good, but again, in order to receive their seal of approval, it needs to be 50. A hat is always a must. Why in specific? Most of the basal cell and squamous cell carcinomas are usually found on either the head, face, or neck. So when you use a hat, we do recommend one with a brim all the way around so it shades the back of your neck as well. But we recommend, you know, at least about a 3-inch brimmed hat. The smaller ones, even though they're cute, don't really offer you very much protection. So you need that brim of about 3 inches or better. I have some really great beach floppy hats, ladies, that if you like to accessorize with hats, now's the time. So again, hats to protect you are definitely a must as well. Let's see, some factors to consider is, again, the heat factor. If it's going to make you super hot and overheat, gosh, we don't want to do that too long or too often. So that's something to kind of weigh the risks and benefits of. Maybe if you use a lighter color, you put some sunscreen on and then your clothing on, and that would provide you with a little bit better protection. Construction, the more dense the fabric it is, the better it is. If it's sheer, it's just like anything else. Basically, if you hold it up to the sunlight and you can see through it, then it's not quite as protective as something that's more dense, like denim, where you can't really see through it. So the more dense it is, the better protection that you have. Specifically, they say the content of your clothing. Unbleached cotton is better at absorbing things. Sleek, shiny polyesters and satiny silks are actually really reflective, so they help in that aspect. Let's see, and then of course the high-tech fabrics that I talked about earlier, maybe they have something woven into them with a sunscreen or some type of chemical or something to reflect the sun's light. I've seen a lot of, I know my boys had some swim shirts that I bought for them recently that had that embedded into it. Unfortunately, my kids aren't really good about wearing their sunscreen, although I try really hard. My youngest is getting used to it, but the older two, I really have to harp at them to wear their sunscreen. And then, let's see, we talked about the label. A loose fit is better. Reasoning behind that is if the clothing is super tight on you and stretched out, then that stretches that material, makes it not as dense, more rays get through. Coverage, always more is better. If you can do the long sleeves, longer pants, or a longer skirt, then it just certainly provides you with more coverage and more protection. Again, we talked about the UPF. Definitely want something of 30 or better at least. Color does play a part. I know that in the summer we usually tend to go for the lighter colors. They don't keep as much heat. Well, they also don't protect you quite as well in that aspect, unless they are, high-tech designed to block rays. They already have something embedded in them. Otherwise, darker colors are actually better because they absorb the rays and then the rays don't penetrate your skin. Something to think about with that though is, again, the heat factor. If it's going to make you super, super hot and overheat, gosh, we don't want to do that too long or too often. So that's something to kind of weigh the risks and benefits of. Maybe if you use a lighter color, you put some sunscreen on and then your clothing on, and that would provide you with a little bit better protection. Construction, the more dense the fabric it is, the better it is. If it's sheer, it's just like anything else. Basically, if you hold it up to the sunlight and you can see through it, then it's not quite as protective as something that's more dense like denim, where you can't really see through it. So the more dense it is, the better protection that you have. Specifically, they say the content of your clothing. Unbleached cotton is better at absorbing things. Sleek, shiny polyesters and satiny silks are actually really reflective, so they help in that aspect. Let's see, and then of course the high-tech fabrics that I talked about earlier, maybe they have something woven into them with a sunscreen or some type of chemical or something to reflect the sun's light. I've seen a lot of, I know my boys had some swim shirts that I bought for them recently that had that embedded into it. Unfortunately, my kids aren't really good about wearing their sunscreen, although I try really hard. My youngest is getting used to it, but the older two, I really have to harp at them to wear their sunscreen. And then, let's see, we talked about the label. A loose fit is better. Reasoning behind that is if the clothing is super tight on you and stretched out, then that stretches that material, makes it not as dense, more rays get through. Coverage, always more is better. If you can do the long sleeves, longer pants, or a longer skirt, then it just certainly provides you with more coverage and more protection. And then activity, no matter what the UPF is, if your shirt, clothing, or whatever becomes wet, it does decrease the effectiveness of it. So even if you have the highest UPF there is, when it becomes wet, it actually decreases the efficacy there. Just to kind of put some things into perspective so you understand, a plain white t-shirt has a UPF of 7, and a long sleeve denim shirt has a UPF of 1700. That's again almost complete and perfect blocking of the UVA UVB rays. So if you had to choose between one or the two, so long as you weren't going to get yourself supremely overheated, definitely the long sleeve and denser material would be better. Don't forget the cool shades. Eyewear or protective eyewear is really essential. Just like the skin, eyes can be damaged by UVA and UVB rays over time. And you can also get skin cancer, especially around your eyes and even on your eyelids. Other harmful effects actually include cataracts, macular degeneration, keratitis or a corneal sunburn. Some other people may have heard of welder's burn, same thing. Conjunctival cancers. Those were once really super rare, but now they're kind of making a comeback and we're seeing more of them. You know, those are pretty detrimental and disfiguring, so you definitely want to try to prevent those if at all possible. Also, again, I said eyelid skin cancers in particular, those account for 5 to 10% of all skin cancers. And although it's only 5 to 10%, that's actually a pretty good chunk there. And so definitely have to have something to protect the eyes. Also, 10% of all cataract cases can be attributed to sun exposure as well. So you want to protect those precious peepers with the following steps. You want to wear sunglasses all year long and even when it's cloudy. You know, I'm sure you understand and know that when you go outside and it's cloudy, the sun still emits those UVA and UVB rays, so you can still get a sunburn even though it's cloudy outside. Same thing with your eyes. Even though it's cloudy outside, they still need that protection. So want to choose some sunglasses that block 99 to 100% of the UVA, UVB rays. Wear a hat with at least a 3-inch brim. Again, the hat, wonderful thing. Helps to shade the eyes, helps to keep that sunlight from getting to your face and your eyes. So that added with your sunglasses when you're out and about can certainly give you like the ultimate protection there. Let's see, also when you're near water, snow, and higher altitudes, specifically they mention hiking in sand. I almost forgot sand, water, snow, sand. Those in particular will actually reflect the sun's light back. So not only were you getting the dose of sun to begin with, but you're also getting the reflection off of those surfaces. So when you know you're going to be on a boat, in a pool, on a sandy beach, or out snow skiing, you really want to up your game when you're doing your skin protection and eye protection. Also, again, we stated to not only wear the shades, but seek the shade. Try to avoid the peak hours between 10 and 4, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when the sun's rays are at its highest intensity, and that will help. Wanted to talk about specifically the sunscreen around the eyes. Usually most that are mineral based are safe for the sensitive skin. Remember I told you that they would be less likely to give you a reaction. Those are usually safest to use in the eye area. And they usually won't break you out or sting when they get in your eyes. Also the stick sunscreen, where it comes in the little containers and it's just a little stick balm. Those usually tend to be really good for the eye area so that it doesn't run and get goopy in there. Ladies, again, that makeup that we have, there's lots of concealers and eye things that actually have an SPF of at least 15 in them. I know I have one, I think it's 20. But if you're going to go out and about and be on a boat all day and stuff, definitely want to have the sunglasses. And then you'd still want to use some sunscreen for when you take the sunglasses off, etc. With everything that we've kind of gone over, I've also kind of touched base on how I can help in particular. Again, I can do skin checks with regular health exams. If you have a concern about something on your skin and you want to make an appointment and have me look at it, we can certainly do that. And if we need to, refer you to a dermatologist. And then also too, if you say, hey, look, I found this neat sunscreen, can I come talk to you about it? We can do that as well. And I can help guide you to some proper resources so that you can find, something, a sunscreen or a sun product that's best for you. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. As everything starts to get back and going again, please stop in and say hi, get to know me. I love to get to know each and every one of you guys. I certainly have missed you over the past couple of months. And I look forward to seeing you all soon and talking with you. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.